Hey everybody, it's Alexander Williamson. Welcome to beautiful Florida. We're gonna find some fish. Guys, what is going on? I am sweating, as you can see. We are here at the Tropical Aquaculture Lab in Ruskin, Florida. And they have vat after greenhouse after greenhouse of fish experiments, saltwater, freshwater, feeding, growing, all sorts of stuff going on here. It's incredibly cool, and you're gonna see some things you've never seen before. You think your brine shrimp hatchery is big? Well, check out these. You think your fry rack is big? Well, check out these. And this is just one of the almost dozen greenhouses and dozens of ponds outside. So get ready, this is gonna be an awesome video, and I'll see you outside. Here is the Arapaima up close and personal. Look at that beautiful tail. I mean, I feel like these are just as cool as an arowana. I mean, they're big, they're probably bigger. But a beautiful fish that happens to be tasty, and all of South America knows it. And they're doing research on them here. But I mean, to give you an idea, that fish is longer than I am tall and over 100 pounds. So very, very cool stuff going on down here at the Aquaculture Lab in Ruskin, and we're gonna go explore some of the other cool stuff going on here too. Hey guys, what is going on? It's Alex Williamson here with The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium, and I'm here with Eric, and he is going to tell us all about what they do here down in Florida at the University of Florida Tropical Aquaculture Laboratory. That's a mouthful. I had to rehearse that, I'm not gonna lie. I mixed things up. But let's talk to Eric about what is going on at this really cool facility. I mean, there's boats here, there's ponds here, there's greenhouses, there's laboratories, clean rooms. I mean, you guys have it all. So yeah. What is it that you guys do here?
So we're the University of Florida. We do research on ornamental aquaculture or ornamental fish aquaculture. Here in the state of Florida, that's our #1 aquaculture product, and we want to support our industry and make sure that they succeed and thrive here in the state and provide you guys with cool pet aquarium fish.
Right on. So does that go from, like, you know, there's a disease and they don't know where it came from? Are you the guys they bring it to?
On diseases, non-native species, how to breed fish, all the way to, you know, how to run your farm, alternative energy sources.
Wow.
The whole gamut, man, and we provide that information to our industry partners, which are those farmers.
Wow, that's really, really cool. And I mean, right here we're surrounded by life, we're surrounded by fish ponds, and we'll get into what's going on, but now that you guys know just a little bit about this and what's going on here, let's take a deeper dive. So we are down here at the Florida Aquaculture Lab, and look what we have. This is an Arapaima, a giant South American fish, but we're in Florida. Right. So what's going on here, Eric? Why do you have an Arapaima? Where did it come from?
Yeah, we did some research on these guys as a food fish, and we actually have a couple farms that are growing them as a food fish. It's the only food fish that we do research on here at the lab, and we're actually done with that research portion of it. So
okay,
it's delicious, and you know, look for it in your local markets pretty soon. So.
Yeah, I mean, they eat it a lot in South America.
Oh yeah, it's
a delicacy, and boy, look at that color. Is that just a wild morph? Do they look like that?
Yeah, that's what they look like.
So that is a beautiful red and black stripe. And I mean, I'm surprised, honestly, that we're even seeing it, because I would have assumed that it would have just dove down. But these are a very strange looking fish. I'll have to show you guys. I'll cut in an image of what they look like.
Well,
so an Arapaima, just to give you guys an idea of how big this fish is. That entire thing, that is a fish. Look at him. He is magnificent. And I mean, how many pounds do those things get up to?
You know, up to, I don't know. They get quite larger than that. I think he's probably right around 100 pounds right now.
Wow. I think they get like 300 pounds is what I read. Right. So
yeah, they get like,
I mean, on average,
like 8 to 9 feet. But, you know, don't quote me.
8 to 9, yeah. That make, and look at that beautiful striped tail. I mean, what a cool fish. I mean, not great for your average Aquarius, but super cool to see.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, how many gallons is this pond approximately?
Yeah, right. I mean, about 10,000, 15,000. And you normally don't see them swimming with a snook, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
That's a largemouth bass and a snook. I think I saw like a sunfish or something in there too.
Probably some in there.
So, what do they eat? What I mean,
Well,
what do you guys feed them?
Right, we feed them just a manufactured fish food. It's just a big fish pellet.
Okay, a big fish pellet. And is that like a? I mean, are they omnivorous or are they carnivores or?
That guy's going to be your top predator.
Top predator.
In his food chain.
Okay, that makes sense. He's giant, and wow, that's crazy. That's so cool to see. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're looking in the ponds, and this one is pretty murky, as a lot of them can be when the fish kick up all the debris. But there are koi in here, good-sized koi, and they're snapping at the surface. And the reason they're doing that, Eric just explained that they feel the vibrations probably in their lateral line, I would guess, and in their inner ear, which is not quite the same as a human ear, but they can feel the vibrations of us walking up to the pond, and they know that that means feeding time, which is super interesting. And they're being aerated here in the summer. I'm sure that cools them off, and then if anything, they need to be warmed up in this time of year. Even though it's like 75 today and sunny, it's not quite hot enough as tropical, and that's where they cover their ponds with either they can use black tarps, they can use clear tarps. There's a number of ways to do it, but out here they can do whatever experiments they need to. They can contain it, and you know, there's a safety margin as well. So even if these ponds started filling in a rainstorm, there's still a good amount of height that keeps it in, plus a whole pump system. So it's pretty cool that they can do that work and learn about invasives. They can learn what is kind of going on, what's a real problem versus what's just kind of existing out in the wild. And they take that seriously, which is really cool. So let's go inside of the facility and check out some of the things they're doing with the fish in there. All right, so these are going to be the hot houses. I've learned that much. Let's see, how bad is it? Oh, it's not quite as bad as some of the places I've been. So in here, they have giant pool fights with pool noodles. I'm sure that's what's going on. So,
I'm not actually sure why they're there.
It looks like you're kind of using them as a gasket, maybe, or something, or a place to attach something. Who knows? But needless to say, they're trying all sorts of different things. In here, it looks like we've got some sort of crayfish, and in here, it looks like we've got an albino fish, but we've got some young fish, and we're gonna learn about what is going on in this room right now. Oh wow, these are some big nuchal humps on these guys. So what are these fish right here?
So this is our brood stock for when we were looking at creating the parrot cichlids. So we have redheads and red devils.
Okay.
If you look in both of these tanks.
So this is kind of like a flower horn in that it's kind of a crisscross hybridized.
Similar, yeah,
okay.
Similar.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of what we do for our industry.
Right. Yeah.
So the farmers came to us during the pandemic. We didn't have that import stream. Parrot cichlids are a very popular fish in the industry.
Yeah.
And they come from Southeast Asia, and so but we don't really have a good idea of how to produce them, or we didn't. And then we started doing. Our farmers tasked us with doing some of that research.
Okay.
Hybridizing the redhead and the red devil into that parrot cichlid.
Yeah.
It took a few years. And actually, if you look behind you, you'll see we have some that have that
Oh,
very
wow.
distinct parrot.
Yeah, they look just like the parrot cichlids, the chubby face and the round body. That's really interesting.
We have some in these vats. We have others in the greenhouse too that you'll see when we get there. And we're also doing a diet study on trying to get some of that color to stay within them. So you'll see these parrots are a little bit more colored than those.
So are these the same generation and same spawn?
Yes.
Wow. So this could be the difference in diet. I mean, I assume you selected for the best fish too, but I mean, I would.
It could be. Well, you know, we're not replicated here. This is just sort of an observational study.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're exploring the process of how do we get those parrot cichlids so that our farmers can produce them. And that's just an example of one of the things that
Yeah.
services that.
So that could be like, does adding more carotenoids or anthocyanins to the food,
Exactly.
you know, does that translate into the color like it would in the wild?
Exactly.
And how much oxygenation, how much sunlight, or whatever makes the optimal fish, you guys help sort all that out, which is really cool.
Correct.
So the difference is pretty stark between these two sets of babies. There's one darker one in there too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, we saw all sorts of different mottled colorations, and you'll see that, especially in the bigger tank. So.
And so were these the direct spawn of this tank or this tank, or?
Well, these are just where we're holding the brood stock. And some of them are mixed in. You'll see redheads and red devils in each tank.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so we're still kind of determining what was going to be the best reproduction.
Oh yeah, now I see the darker cichlids in here too, yeah. Wow. And these are not, I mean, I have to say, these are not the best fish for your starter hobbyist. These are a fish that gets,
correct.
These are, I mean, almost a foot long. They're big fish, they need good nutrition, and they're really aggressive. So just if you guys think these are beautiful, funny looking goldfish and you're new to the hobby, do your research first, please. But they are really interesting to see, like the sturtle fish that came out accidentally, I think was that Asia, where they crossed a sturgeon and a paddlefish accidentally. Okay. I mean, it's bizarre what hybridizes sometimes. And
yeah, I'm always fascinated.
And so, yeah, it's really interesting. You never know what the next fish in the hobby is going to be. A demo tank, and just to show you guys, is that a peacock bass under there, or what? Midas cichlid, or what are we looking at? The other big.
Looks like a Mayan.
Mayan, okay.
Mayan cichlid.
Mayan cichlid there, and then we got a blue tilapia, which I've shown you guys out in the rivers, unfortunately, in Tampa. But here they look into solutions like, you know, how to mitigate the presence of those fish, what impact they're having, and so it's a really cool facility in that sense that. Just because something was done 30 years ago and it's kind of out of control in most people's mind doesn't always mean that you can't put the genie back in the bottle, or you can't equalize the issue a little bit, or maybe the genie isn't as bad as we thought. It just all kind of depends, and they're here to sort out with science the answers. And so that's why it's so important to fund these kind of institutions and to vote on ballot measures and things, initiatives locally that are funding education of the wildlife and the agriculture, aquaculture that is surrounding you in your state. So this is what Florida is doing, and it's pretty cool. I love when we get to go into the do not enter biosecurity in effect. Thank you for letting us check out the top secret stuff. So you guys, we are checking out what goes on in these rooms, and this room feels a lot more methodical than the vats that look very much like the fish farms. I don't know why, maybe it's the white and blue, but it feels very like everything's numbered very clearly. So this is
actually not our greenhouse. This is Hillsborough Community College's greenhouse.
Oh, okay.
So the students here, like you said, are very good at keeping track of things, keeping things in order, keeping things relatively clean for a fish farm.
So this is a teaching place.
This is an associate's degree, and if you're interested, you can get a hold of Dr. Craig Casper.
Craig Casper. Okay.
Hillsborough Community College.
All right.
He runs this aquaculture program, and it's designed to train people, not just kids.
Yeah.
To work in the industry. So,
right.
So we produce information. These guys produce actual product, which are fish.
Yeah. And that's so important too, because a lot of the fish farmers down here, I mean, they don't necessarily have a degree, but their family's been doing it for 3 or 4 generations since the early 60s or whatever. And one, it's hard to break into that culture and to learn from, I mean, it's hard, you really need to spend like a decade doing an apprenticeship and being friends with people on the farms to start to get the idea of some of what goes into the very intensive processes. But if people want to learn the scientific and the overview of how the life systems and biology works, they can go to the community college and get a very nice training, and then probably get a job anywhere on one of those farms, I would guess, any of the hiring farms.
Yeah. they look for those people coming out of that program. So
beautiful fish, and I love that they're coming right up to the camera. They're just like ready, born for the paparazzi, aren't you guys? Oh, you guys gonna get scared and come back? Oh, you gonna come back one more time? Oh. Cichlids are so fun to work with because they just have such personality too.
Yeah.
Got all sorts of different color morphs going on here. Wow, look at that iridescence that's going on these guys.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. Don't ask me. He's told me the type it is, but I can't.
So this kind of looks like the white knights or the blue knights that were over at Imperial Tropical, but that color, when you see that undescribable kind of opal shimmer that almost looks like it's glowing from inside the fish, what that is a crystal matrix in each scale or in the flesh of the fish, and it's called iridophores. And iridophores are different than pigmentation. So the pigmentation is under the iridophores. The iridophores are a crystal matrix above that in a thin layer, and what it is it's guanine and guarine crystals that form in protoplasm, which is the clear jelly that's within a cell, and they have to form in a completely oxygen-free environment, and they form within that cell as a triangle or as a cube, and depending on what structure they form as, they refract light differently, just like a wind chime might in your window that's a prism or a color changing or a CD even, for example, the way it refracts light. That's all done on the material science level of things. It's done in their scales microscopically, and it is a trait that can be passed on, whether it's guppies or cichlids, and it's really beautiful to see what has been accomplished with this selection.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful variety.
Yeah, he had some of these too, this beautiful metallic blue, very, very cool. These fish are stunning. I love seeing that metallic look on these fish. I mean, and they're very active, they're very social fish, but you do need a good sized tank. These are also not the very best starter fish, but it's not impossible if you're interested and you educate yourself enough. But these are another really cool fish, and these are the electric blue Pseudotropheus johanii, or Johnny, I don't know how to say it. Mbuna is what they are. So they are Rift Lake cichlids. Really cool fish. Really pretty fish. Now we are in a mostly saltwater section of the research facility. And you can see that here they have a lot more, overhead outlets, plugs. There's a lot more variables for saltwater in theory. It doesn't have to be more complex by far, but it tends to be a little more complex. And here they've got, yet again, facilities for grow out, breeding, research, and then they've got their controlled hatchery room, right? And so this is a lab within the lab, essentially. Alright, so now we're in yet another building here, and this is a freshwater hatchery. And in here, they've got all sorts of things going on. They've got fish, they've got spawning setups. Obviously, I just said it was a hatchery. And you can see all sorts of different fish in here. And they also do all sorts of interesting tests on, how to cure parasites, how best to treat fish. Look at these adorable little puffers. These are really, really cute. And more adorable puffers. And we've got some betta here. Now, are these betta splendens, or are they another wild kind that you're working with?
They're albino, but yeah, they're bettas.
Albino, interesting. There are some chubby bettas in here. Well fed, yeah. And then we've got betta juveniles. And so, are you guys, you're spawning betta for, is this someone's project that's doing research, or are you guys?
We were doing a feeding trial on them, and they're all, actually that rack over there is where they're kind of set up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure exactly the specifics of it, but yeah, we were kind of looking
So,
at feeding them. of different diets and seeing how they perform.
So how to optimize spawning them and production of them. Very cool. So these are pretty cool fry racks, and I know a lot of hobbyists that are very envious of like having, you know, a setup like this, and have tried to emulate things like this. Yeah. Based on a lot of times like the zebrafish research, you know, facilities you'll see like in labs and things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. These things were built a long time ago. I don't know if they make them anymore.
Yeah,
they're great little setups.
These specific containers, actually, they are not making them anymore, because I was just at Lucas Brett's house up by Georgia, and he bought 5 pallets. It took 2 van loads of them from a university, because he contacted the company, and they're using a slightly different one now. So it just happened to be trivia I got on this trip.
Yeah, that's good to know.
So they have names.
The grad student's name.
So I assume the brain is from Pinky and the Brain. I'm sure you can kind of... oh yeah, here's the Three Stooges. I mean, I told you guys we'd see cool stuff.
Yeah.
The Three Stooges in person. So they're growing them out, and they're just optimizing their diet and doing some sort of study on it, which, if you're real nerdy, you can probably look up the paper in 6 months, a year from now.
Right, correct.
And I see, like, you know, golden pearls or some sort of, you know, little small feed. I can't tell what it is.
I'm not sure exactly what it is. Yeah.
But needless to say, check into the aquaculture research facility here if you want to know more, and keep up with what they're doing. So in here they've got a diet study going on, and you can see there's 3 different foods, and then they've got it color coded, and so they're growing out different age bettas, and some of them are middle age like these, some of them are brand new hatches, some of them are older grow outs, and some of them are juvenile to adults or sub-adults. And over here, some poor grad student is toiling away, figuring out how to grow them the fastest so that they can pass that information on to the farms and the breeders in the area here in Florida. And this facility is just absolutely awesome. I mean, talk about a brine shrimp hatchery. They are taking good care of those fish. Alright, so here we are in the hatchery at the Aquaculture Lab, and I guarantee you've never seen this puffer before. How do I know you've never seen this type of puffer before? Because they just crossed the green spot puffer with the figure 8 puffer. And this is the result. This is a hybrid of the two, and it's being studied for genomic and developmental reasons to see how the genus and species are, how they evolved, how they develop, and you know how their dentition and their scales and everything are impacted when you cross them. And over here we've got the green spot puffers just on their own. And they're a pretty plump little puffer with a little iridescence, but you can see the difference in the face shape here. In the white bellies are a little whiter, and the eyes are a little more pronounced. But look at that iridescence on some of them. This is going to be a really interesting project, and the person who's working on it is not here at the moment, but I'm really interested, and I'll be reading the papers or work that's published for sure to see what happens. I mean, we don't know if they'll be able to have babies, what other puffers can cross, but it's super interesting, and you can see there's a big group of them over there. If you've ever had a puffer, you know that their personalities are kind of unrivaled in the hobby, right up there with cichlids in their personality and the way they behave. Got a pleco for cleaning in there, and this will be an interesting study to follow, so I'm sure I'll be covering it on FISHTORY later, and check back, guys, because they're doing all sorts of interesting things here, but this is one of them for sure. So we've got another greenhouse. I mean, this kind of looks like the scene from E.T. where the government comes and sets up like all the spaces for.
We'll leave that open. It's a bit hot.
It is a bit hot. I say that about every room we come into, but you know, Seattle's not known for its warmth, so there are some enormous tubs in here, and I believe this is like the kind of tub I saw last time, the like gar or red-tailed catfish and stuff like that when you need them indoor.
Right.
In these kind of things.
These are sort of leftover fish from experiments. I work with schools a lot, so I'm able to donate these fish to schools if they want to.
Oh, very cool.
Keep fish tanks or do any sort of experiment or do aquaculture at all.
And how big are these tanks here?
Yeah, good question.
Like yeah.
Huge, yeah.
And these are prawns, huh?
Yeah, so these are macrobrachium. These are the freshwater prawns I was telling you about.
Macrobrachium. How do they taste?
They're pretty good.
Yeah?
They're different than shrimp. Right?
Yeah.
They taste pretty similar. You can kind of get a good look at them now.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Started. They have that big long claw and really.
Oh yeah, the big long blue claw.
Yeah. We don't do research on these guys. We just grew these out for.
Just because.
Yeah, for festivity purposes. Right?
Wow. Well, they look healthy and happy though.
Yeah. This is just part of one pond.
Wow. Very cool.
So there are pumpers over here. Oh yeah, I forgot we had severums on this.
Severums.
Flow through.
Very cool. And
Puffers are not doing good.
puffers are a little ill right now, so we're not gonna bug them, but.
Here's more of those parrot cichlids that I was telling you about.
Oh wow! So is this where you would grow them out from the other room when they get bigger, or?
Well, typically this would be going into a pond, but we're just holding on to these guys, trying to look at the different color patterns and the different
Sure.
that's happening.
And figure out what's dominant, what you can recreate, that kind of thing.
Right, but the average, the typical grow out would take place out in a pond.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, these are. It's pretty neat to see the fruitful.
Yeah.
Endeavors of our experiments.
Well, not to mention, I mean, there's some that have really cool, like a black tail or a white face, and so those, then you could select those and then either back cross or selectively get a generation and then use those to back cross. I mean, there's all sorts of ways you could do it.
Playing around with these guys, just trying to make them, like I said, a viable part of our Florida production industry. So.
Very cool. So that local Florida farmers can actually be breeding these and making a profit on it too.
Correct.
Staying viable. Very cool. This whole room is overwhelming with the size of all the vats and all the things going on here. All right, we are here in the city of Tampa and right in the heart of the action. Looking for a street so we can get to the airport, but it's pretty downtown.
As a reminder, headphones are required. Seatbelt sign is still illuminated. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the sign has been turned down.
Alright guys, I'm here in Seattle again, and it is cold. It's like 35 degrees or 40 degrees. I don't know how cold it is, but I'm back home. I've got a lot of video editing to do. Maybe we'll catch some salmon spawning still. We'll see what's going on when I get settled. But thank you so much for following me on this journey. And now I'm waiting for my dear wife to pick me up because she's awesome. So thanks for coming along for the journey. See you guys next time. And I really, really appreciate you guys being a part of all this. Bye.